The views and opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily represent those of Natural Bridges Media or KSQD's staff, volunteers, or underwriters.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside. There behind the glass stands a real blade of grass. Be careful as you pass. Move along, move along. Come inside, the show's about to start. Guaranteed to blow your head apart.
Welcome to What a Week, KSQD's Listener's Digest of all the news from this last week that you really need to know. I'm Tony Russomanno.
And I'm Erik Nelson, and have we got a show for you?
Now, you can't be well informed unless you are informed well, and that's where What a Week comes in.
For the next hour, we're going to dive deep into what's been going on over the last 7 days, giving you a quick rundown of what's happening here in Santa Cruz and in the rest of the world.
And because sometimes you just want to get away from it all, we'll play you some music designed to soothe your soul and bring a smile to your face.
So turn up that radio, fire up that internet browser, and get ready for another edition of KSQD's What a Week. And this week and this day, Tony Russomanno, marks an unhappy anniversary. And what would that be?
Boy, yeah. It was 5 years ago this morning. 5 years ago at 8 a.m., the CZU Lightning Complex fire began with one of hundreds, if not thousands, of lightning strikes up in the mountains. That fire burned for 37 days. It was finally put out, finally fully controlled on September 22nd in the evening. And one fatality out of that, Tad Jones, a guy described as a hermit living up on Last Chance Road. 77,000 people evacuated, but close to 1,500 structures destroyed.
Let's go back to that fun summer and fall of 2020. So COVID is raging at that point. It's absolutely not out of control, but out of control. The election at that point, Trump term one, Biden was running, but no one knew what was going to happen. That was fun. We had the fire, that catastrophe. All in all, it was a rather depressing August and September. And look at us now, at least 5 years later.
Everything is fortunately, no.
Let's put on that happy face.
You know what you ought to put on today? You ought to put on your life preserver because the zone has been flooded. Boy, there's a lot of news.
And folks, it's getting increasingly hard on What a Week to keep up with the deluge, the deluge of bad juju that seems to be flooding our airways, but we're trying to do the best we can.
The sewer's backed up.
But let's start locally, and I wish we had some cheery news locally, but this was an epic week in Santa Cruz, and a week that 5 years from now,
Indeed.
we may be saying,
Yep.
Remember 5 years ago in August of 2025 when we thought that the worst thing that could be happening was Donald Trump's alleged summit? But no, folks, in Santa Cruz in our very own backyard.
This years from now will be the week that we point to and say, yeah, that's when Santa Cruz changed again. This past week is when it happened. Several major things regarding housing and construction, of course. Number one, the only way to describe it is to use the word explosive. Explosive downtown growth was approved by the Coastal Commission, State Coastal Commission, okayed plans for up to 1,600 new high-rise apartment units and a new Warriors basketball arena downtown. It will permanently change the look and the scale of the city's core. And Mayor Fred Keeley thanked the Coastal Commission. His quote, "We think the expansion is a quite creative way to achieve an increase in housing."
Yes, creative. Has anyone actually reviewed, has Mayor Keeley actually looked at the quote-unquote creative design plans for these concrete toadstools? One wonders, but let's just move on here. So what other bad news?
Number two, the poster child project for downtown development was approved. We're talking about the Clock Tower Center, the Clock Tower building, the single most debated and discussed development proposal in Santa Cruz for more than a year, as reported by Chris Neely in Lookout. Project owned, designed, developed by Workbench. And Chris says Workbench has earned a reputation for splashy multifamily project proposals throughout Santa Cruz County and the region.
Splashy. Okay, so splashy. That's a good phrase for it. And what I love here is the City Council also allowed Workbench to extend the balconies into public airspace and said, quote, they're powerless to stop Workbench from taking out 2 big, giant, beautiful heritage redwood trees on the property.
So what are you going to do? You can't do anything.
God forbid
God
forbid they do a design that somehow incorporates the redwood trees in some way that sort of somehow vaguely lives up to that.
Well, they're
quote,
supposed to, according
line.
to the heritage tree, laws and the rules in Santa Cruz. But what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Tomorrow, Sunday at 4 p.m. at the Clock Tower, and I'm just putting this out here, Save Santa Cruz rally to save the Clock Tower redwoods. So Sunday tomorrow at Ground Zero, the Clock Tower. If people have a gripe about this and want to put at least campaign on behalf of the trees, or go out and look at them and hug them, or
look
do
at
whatever
them
one
would be nice. Yeah,
would be
hug
nice.
a tree. Yeah.
Celebrate them, because these trees ain't going to be here much longer. Thank you, City Council. Thank you, Mayor Keeley, and of course, thanks to Workbench for taking them down.
Big thumbs up, and you know where, Workbench. Now, other trees gone, other heritage trees gone. Those trees at the parking lot in what is to be the new library.
The library with the giant concrete toadstool on top of it. Even more housing, which they can't fill the housing we have, but let's put up more. I know this predates all of this latest stuff, but it's still distressing.
Those trees are gone. And the executive director of Friends of the Santa Cruz Public Library, Sarah Beck, her quote in Lookout, we're going to be so proud to walk into that beautiful building. It's going to be transformative for the neighborhood. I mean, just imagine we're all going to be saying, hey, I'll meet you at the downtown library. How often do you get to be somewhere where you don't have to pay money to be there? Unfortunately, the payment is in something other than coin of the realm. And
our civic leaders, the Murray Bridge closure has now fully impacted the businesses down there. One of my favorite restaurants, La Posta's in trouble. Betty's Seabright location has to cut hours, and worse now than the pandemic. And by the way, adjacent to the brand new library center designation, Betty's Eat In on Pacific closes Sunday. That another downtown business goes down.
Seabright Social, formerly the Seabright Brew Club, will be closing as of Labor Day because of the loss of people, going there because of the bridge.
Now we understand the bridge needed work, needed to be fixed, but the fact that somehow this wasn't calculated well, if we actually prevent people from getting down to this, might have some impact downtown. Is there another way we might do this?
They've got the red light and sirens going. It's code 3 response here. They're pleading with the city to please make good on your promises to help us. And so far that help has consisted, as far as I have seen, that help has consisted of an orange sign with small black lettering posted behind a chain link fence saying that businesses are open.
Oh, that's excellent. So they're letting people know in one sign behind a chain link fence that businesses are open. Well, we're letting everyone know businesses are open. And if you can support those businesses down, try to wend your way down and support them. Because
have a burger, hug a tree.
Have a burger. And tomorrow, again, 4 o'clock at the Clock Tower, if you want to visit those redwoods and earn that phrase, tree hugger. But in the words of Ronald Reagan, Tony Russomanno,
if you've seen one redwood, you've seen them all.
So that's where we're going to go. Well, let's jump briefly and quickly to. Usually we get into thrush around this time in the show, but there's some news breaking on. Well, let's let Fox News quote. So Fox, the summit in Anchorage that lasted way less than it was supposed to. Fox got all of the coverage, had all their embedded, got to use this phrase advisedly, journalists. And this is the report on Fox News. So this isn't on any actual news source. This is on the 24/7 propaganda network, better known as Fox News. This is how they reported what went down yesterday.
Happened back there. It was just very unusual, atypical, and I think we're all awaiting, the readout, because the way that it felt in the room was not good. It did not seem like things went well, and it seemed like Putin came in and steamrolled, got right into what he wanted to say, and got his photo next to the president and then left. Of course, that is only the piece of the picture that we have right now, and certainly President Trump, who is the host and who is the president, would not want to, I think, enable something that would make him look weak. But we are eagerly awaiting to hear the background on that. And I will also note that we didn't see any sort of scowls on the faces of the likes of Steve Witkoff or Secretary Rubio or any of the other members of the U.S. delegation. And I think had it been concerning, we might have seen something there. But just to paint a picture for you of in the room, how it felt, what we're wondering about, what we need to know to put the pieces together and fully understand what we all just witnessed.
Wait a minute. What does she mean it didn't go well? It went great for Putin.
Yeah, it went great for Putin. And, this was Sean Hannity did a debrief, a fawning debrief of the meeting. And, let's just see if let's let our alleged president comment on their secret conversation here that Putin said.
Oh, Vladimir Putin said something, one of the most interesting things. He said your election was rigged because you have mail-in voting. He said mail-in voting, every election. He said no country has mail-in voting. It's impossible to have mail-in voting and have honest elections. And he said that to me. It was very interesting because we talked about 2020. He said, you won that election by so much. And that's how he got it. He said, and if you would have won, we wouldn't have had a war. You'd have all these millions of people alive now instead of dead. And he said, and you lost it because of mail-in voting. It was a rigged election. But mail-in voting, Sean.
Now, Trump's advisors were flipping out at this point because they know, and Trump has been told repeatedly over the past couple of years, that most of the or a majority of ballots that come in by mail come in early, and they're from Republicans, showing the early vote count.
But more importantly, though, what's the phrase got played. I mean, of course, Putin, if he even had this conversation and got into the intricacies of mail-in voting, and this, by the way, is Vladimir Putin talking about free elections, and he's taking advice and insights from that.
Go right to the source on that one, yeah.
But the point, and the one of the other tells in this is Putin said that this wouldn't have happened if you had been president in 2021, right, because Trump, of course, would have given away Ukraine. He wouldn't have needed to invade. Trump would have basically said, we're not going to do anything about it, come on down, and done whatever he needed to do.
Yeah, they would have sent some tow trucks to pull the tanks out of the mud for the Russians.
And so headlines this morning, folks, on this is the New York Times. Trump said after meeting with Putin in Alaska, the best way to end Russia's war with Ukraine is to go directly to a peace agreement and not a mere ceasefire agreement. And in the Washington Post, Trump said Ukraine and Russia should go straight to agreeing on a final peace deal, dropping that pesky demand for a ceasefire, a reversal that aligns him with Russian President Vladimir Putin. So everyone going in, it was ceasefire, go from there. Trump has basically caved, given away everything to his good buddy Vladimir, and Europe is aghast, and poor Zelensky now has to go to the White House on Monday to be browbeaten again as Trump tries to make him and Ukraine the obstacle.
The important question is, will he wear a suit?
Yeah, so this is going to go really well. But this is just another report that I happen to love. Well, let's listen to the response, though, before we get into the kicker here. Mark Wayne Mullen. Yes, it's one name, Mark Wayne, from, wait for it, the senator from Oklahoma. He's weighed in on the alleged summit.
That. I mean, what we're seeing right now, Sean, is President Trump, possibly the greatest president of all time, definitely in our lifetime. And it's amazing that you and I get to call Mr. President or Mr. Trump our friend. It's amazing that he can be just a regular guy and lead with such confidence that he does through peace, through strength, through economic strength, and also understanding the art of the deal. No one's able to make a deal better than him.
Senator Scott Brown, hopefully soon.
Even Sean Hannity sort of like mouth agape as he's. But what's the phrase autofellatio? Does that come to mind here with that? But okay, thank you for that. So this is just breaking news in NPR, the soon to be wound down NPR. Papers with U.S. State Department markings found Friday morning in the business center of the Alaskan hotel revealed previously undisclosed and sensitive details about the meetings. Basically, they left 8 pages in the printer of the hotel where the meeting was supposed to take place. Yeah, my favorite is they found the documents in the printer. This happens, folks. You leave top secret documents. My favorite part is that pages 6 and 7 in the packet described how lunch at the summit would be served and who was going to be seated where. A menu included indicated the luncheon was to be held in honor of His Excellency Vladimir Putin. And for our president here, the list included phonetic pronounciers for all the Russian men expected at the summit, including a Mr. President Putin. In case you want to know what weak listeners, Putin is pronounced P-O-O in caps dash T-I-H-N, but they had to have that pronunciation guide for Trump. As someone said, it strikes me as further evidence of the sloppiness and incompetence of the administration. You don't just leave things in printers. It's that simple.
Yeah, I suppose if they checked the copier, they'd find somebody had dropped their pants and, oh boy.
Yeah, so, and the White House and the U.S. Department of State did not respond to requests for comments about the documents. I'm wondering if Lil Marco Rubio has a scowl now, but you wonder why they don't want NPR around. But this just reported they left the things.
Man.
And someone said the whole Alaska summit could have been concluded in a text that said, Trump, will you please, please, please help me look good in the light of all this Epstein stuff? Putin.
No.
So, I feel like if you help to go negotiate a conflict, you meet with one side and then you go home and say it's up to the other side to make a deal. They probably could have gotten to that point without you, but then again, we're not diplomats here. And the sad thing is Monday now, you see where this is going, but it is I won't say to laugh, it is to laugh and cry. Yeah. And we knew it was going to be bad, but the other thing, folks, if you can watch, there's a video up on social media just of Trump trying to walk the red carpet. Okay, he got off Air Force One and they laid a red carpet. You always lay red carpets for sociopathic Russian dictators, right? That's always how we do.
Got it.
So Trump's walking the red carpet to clap and get ready to meet his BFF, and he's weaving. They sped it up so it's like a piece sequence out of Benny Hill. He cannot walk a straight line. And if this had happened with Biden, this would have been in the news cycle for like a month of Biden can't walk straight line. No, it's great stuff. There's some of the optics on this are pretty darn impressive. But
well, that's what it was all about, just optics. There was nothing else to it.
And I hate to mention this, but in the debate between Harris and Trump, Harris made this comment:
how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Okay, yeah, what part of that is wrong? The Crystal Ball Award goes to Kamala Harris there in the debate for saying exactly what everyone knew was going to happen, and it happened exactly as we say. But as Mark Wayne Mullen has said, it's basically, the greatest single president in human history, et cetera.
He said it with tears in his eyes.
It's just tears. Well, yes, sir.
Sir, you are the greatest. Yeah.
All right, well, let's do a quick, you don't promise thrush without getting to thrush here.
Thrush, the technological hierarchy for the removal of undesirables and the subjugation of humanity.
The thrushing's going really well.
Well, the poster boy for thrush, Musk basically was quoted as saying, this is this is on his quest to Mars. According to Musk, eventually all life on Earth will be destroyed by the sun. It's gradually expanding. We do at some point have to be a multi-planetary civilization because Earth will be incinerated.
Now, that's going to take 500 million years.
Yeah, someone pointed out the sun's going to make Earth too hot for life in around 500 million years.
So,
climate change will make Earth too hot for most people in 70 years. Guess which guy got a climate change denier elected president? The rhetorical question theater. Yeah. And Zuckerberg, a great tweet, somebody said, if he made half the money, Facebook and Meta could be like half as evil. Right? I mean, just their relentless campaign to be evil is impressive. And he's an early adopter. He's in the fast lane here, trying to who's more evil, Larry Ellison, Elon Musk, or Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg keeps placing in the tournament. The latest is there's a backlash brewing against Meta over what it permits its AI chatbots to say. An internal Meta policy document, and this is about what it's allowing its AI chatbots. It's saying they can engage a child in conversations that are romantic or sensual, generate false medical information, and assist users in arguing that, quote, black people are, quote, dumber than white people.
Now, this is corporate policy. This is what's allowed.
The policy document said it would be acceptable for a bot to tell a shirtless 8-year-old that every inch of you is a masterpiece, a treasure I cherish deeply. But it says it also limits what Reuters describes as sexy talk. So, in essence, it's they're quantifying what their evil chatbots can say to anybody, especially children. And God bless Neil Young. Singer Neil Young quit the social media platform Friday because of this. Meta's use of chatbots with children is unconscionable. Mr. Young does not want a further connection with Facebook. So good on Neil Young. And then speaking of AI chatbots and how that all works, Sam Altman, another one of these guys, just unveiled the brand new GPT-5. It's the most hyped and most eagerly anticipated AI product release. A day before launch, and this is perfect reading the room, Sam Altman tweeted an image of the Death Star. That was his image to announce his new product.
That's always good, sure.
And surprise, 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 all of the people who are on were avid users of the old Chat GPT and forming deep, abiding relationships with their AI virtual girlfriends are disappointed and Reddit AI communities are downright hostile about the upgrade. They're basically saying GPT can't count the number of bees in blueberry, couldn't identify how many fingers were on a picture of a human hand, and got basic arithmetic wrong, and so on. So basically, it was a failed product launch. It reminds me of the good old days with Microsoft.
That's right. Remember that when Bill Gates was up on stage introducing Windows 2 or something, and he pushed the magic button, and suddenly the giant screen went blue screen of death, right behind old Bill. Yeah, that was embarrassing.
And last but never least, Jeff Bezos. This may be a rumor, but I'm going to go with it anyway. According to OK Magazine, again, we're not sure if this is real or not, but let's go with it. Bezos is about to make his wife, Lauren Sanchez, a star. Insiders report that he plans to launch his wife into a prominent acting role in the James Bond reboot, which, if anyone knows, Amazon and Bezos own. They bought it out from the Broccoli's, and now they're the owners and operators of James Bond. He's obsessed, a Hollywood insider dished to a news outlet. This isn't just fantasy casting. Jeff wants her on screen, period. And as someone pointed out, so a megalomaniac rich dude who used his fortune to buy a major newspaper wants to make his untalented second wife a star.
I wonder if he's also missing a beloved childhood toy? A sled, perhaps?
But we'll leave that right here. Why don't we, if we ever needed a musical break, we need a musical break right now. Artist who KSQD is very fond of, Molly Tuttle, has a brand new breakthrough record out.
Oh, fantastic.
And the lyrics on this are very much pointed in the direction of the current administration. Good on her, but it's also a great song and great picking from the new Molly Tuttle album, which came out on Friday. And the album's called So Long, Little Miss Sunshine, and the song's called Everything Burns.
with the stars and the stripes, now the work is done. Smoke is ascending from the blackened plain. Ash and cinders are all that remain. Everything burns. Everything burns. One little spark to a flame, and now everything burns.
So what do you really think, Molly
Yeah,
Tuttle?
a fool with a fire and a poison pen, a mob full of 500,000 angry men.
Yeah, get it done. So let's talk, that is a certain take on things. Governor Newsom, or Governor Newscum, or Mr. Kimberly Guilfoyle, you can take your name for our governor, definitely has crafted a strategy. Social medias, he's absolutely doing everything in his power to drive the Mango Mussolini out of his mind by doing great parodies of the Trump.
All in caps, too,
all
on
in
social
caps,
media.
and
Yeah.
usually ending with, "Thank you for attention to this matter." So he had a press conference, and an incredible coincidence that the New York Times actually posted as a coincidence. And in the New York Times report of this, they said, it's unsure whether it was just happened to be in a major ICE operation at the exact nanosecond.
A major ICE operation?
Right, yeah, they brought
They had a
bunch
raid.
They had a raid, a bunch of goons outside, basically tried to disrupt Newsom's speech and press conference. But this is a quote, this is from Newsom's press conference.
So we're here with our state of mind, with the clarity of our purpose and conviction, to recognize that we need to reconcile the world we're living in. We do have agency. We're not bystanders in this world. We can shape the future, and that's what we intend to do today. We're here because Donald Trump, on January 6th, tried to light democracy on fire, tried to wreck this country, tried to steal an election, as Alex just said, by trying to dial in for 11, almost 12,000 votes. And here we are, in open and plain sight, before one vote is cast in the 2026 midterm election. And here he is once again trying to rig the system. He doesn't play by a different set of rules. He doesn't believe in the rules. And as a consequence, we need to disabuse ourselves of the way things have been done. It's not good enough to just hold hands, have a candlelight vigil, and talk about the way the world should be.
All right.
Yeah.
So here's the plan, right? He wants to reapportion. He wants to change the way the maps are drawn in California and add up to five more Democrats to the House of Representatives.
To counter what's going on in Texas.
If Texas continues to do that.
Well, Texas is continuing to do that.
And he said, if they step back, so will we. Now this has got to go to the voters. So he's also announced a voting issue in the November election. Hopefully, we can get on the ballot to permit the state to do this, to give voter approval for up to 3 years. However, it's not as simple as it sounds, because California already is very strongly Democratic, and there are a number of races at the last election, the last House of Representatives election in the state that were decided rather closely for Democrats, maybe 51% of the vote. So it's not a sure thing. But the reapportionment maps, plan maps, came out overnight last night, and there's some really funny squiggles in there to try to isolate the Republicans, which is very difficult because there aren't that many in California.
And if we're lucky, we'd pick up 5 seats. But if we're unlucky or the law doesn't go through, we're back to square one. But the point is, at least Newsom's trying to do something about it. And I just think, there's no bad news here. Newsom defines the phrase opportunistic politician. He senses that this is the way to go because he wants to be president in 2028. That is not a bad thing. You can take that at face value. An extremely opportunistic politician. Yes, Mr. Kimberly Guilfoyle, I can't harp on that enough, thinks and maybe even believes that this is the way to go, which is to absolutely draw a line in the sand. So we shall see how it turns out. But meanwhile, in Washington, well, let's set the stage here. So last week, among the many things that went on, was a federal National Guard occupation of Washington. Why? Because Musk stooge, a.k.a. Big Balls, was the victim, allegedly, of a failed unarmed carjacking. 2 teenagers roughed him up, gave him a bloody nose, And the perps, of course, were quickly apprehended by the D.C. police. But the alleged president, saw that on Fox News and immediately sent in the troops. And
they didn't know he was Big Balls, by the way. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been a bloody nose.
Yes, and someone non-facetiously at a press conference suggested that Big Balls get awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So we'll see if that goes down. Remember Markwayne Mullen, first place, the most ludicrous name. If you know, it's a parody of a name from a rube from Oklahoma, I must say. But now that D.C., despite all the available statistics, is now a hotbed of crime. Let's have brave MAGA warrior Markwayne Mullen on D.C.
And by the way, I'm not joking when I say this. I drive around in Washington, D.C. in my Jeep, and yes, I do drive myself, and I don't buckle up. And the reason why I don't buckle up, and people can say whatever they want to, they can raise their eyebrows at me again, is because of carjacking. I don't want to be stuck in my vehicle when I need to exit in a hurry because I got a seatbelt around me. And I wear my seatbelt all the time, but in Washington, D.C., I do not because it is so prevalent of carjacking. And I don't want the same thing happen to me, what's happened to a lot of people that work on the Hill.
So let's get this straight. He points out he does drive his own car. He's worried, so he drives without his seatbelt on because he
wants to get out of the car in a hurry.
Well, he wants to get out of the car. That's how. So this is the brave MAGA man, warrior Markwayne Mullen.
Whatever.
So the New York Times have been reporting that they blinked and they backed down. Pam Bondi is basically a court ruling came down and they're agreeing to withdraw the federal this and the wada-doo-dah. But then this morning, West Virginia's governor said he's deploying the National Guard, the West Virginia National Guard, to Washington, D.C. So there'll be more people standing around in military camo at various landmarks doing absolutely nothing. In the words of the West Virginia governor, they'll be providing mission essential equipment, specialized training, and approximately 300 to 400 skilled personnel to deal with this. Now,
right. that means about 80 or 90 actual guardsmen on the street at any one time because of shift change and all of that. So,
but what the big story though was a sandwich man, some absolutely outraged civilian who objected to the aforementioned uniformed stooges standing around, scratching their balls and looking at their cell phones, yelled at them and made a mistake of throwing a Subway sandwich at one. Now, I've eaten Subway sandwiches, and I've had
they're dangerous weapons.
They're dangerous
Absolutely.
weapons, and I've had but I've usually hurled them into garbage cans, not at, and maybe that was missed.
Well, the pastrami's not bad, really.
But somebody referred to it as assault with a deli weapon. He's not the gyro we deserve, but he's the gyro we've got. And then finally, is that a baguette you're holding? Are you just angry to see me? So anyway, Washington. Now, the thing I had to notice last week, so the SHIT is hitting the portable heating cooling unit last week in Washington. What does Muriel Bowser do? Muriel Bowser announces she's got to go up to Martha's Vineyard for a couple of days. She's the mayor. The mayor of D.C., the woman on point in this fight, goes up to Martha's Vineyard.
Why?
To pick up her daughter who was in summer camp. Now, I love I understand a single mom, et cetera, but is there the idea and the optics of going up when this is happening to Martha's Vineyard, which is, by the way, where the Obama's compound is. Speaking of do-nothing Democrats, the optics aren't great.
Yeah.
And as somebody said,
at least she wasn't going to Cancun.
And somebody said it's a 3-day trip to pick up the daughter. Where is she? Antarctica? And she couldn't have. Or, again, the optics, folks, just send somebody else up and make a point that you should be doing that. But the idea of just bailing and skedaddling. But she did say, I'm in constant contact with my senior team and have been in constant consultation with the partners throughout this short swing out of the district. It's important that she was in constant contact with her senior team.
Oh, they could have she should have stayed, in D.C. They could have really milked it, done a real, wag the dog thing and have like the daughter crying, Mommy, where's my mommy? She has to stay in D.C. to protect the population. Anyway.
And then the other thing, again, it's so tough to keep up with this. The Kennedy Center, now Trump has announced a great handful. Sylvester Stallone, that was a great choice for that. Who else has he put in? Well, he didn't put in Ted Nugent. I'll give him that. the interesting thing was he didn't put in honorary Jeffrey Epstein, which is good, and he didn't put Melania in because that was probably a condition of the prenup, so she's got to advance that. But God bless, and this is according to Paul Rudnick, Tom Cruise, he turned down the award, citing, quote, schedule conflicts. And according to Rudnick, this is also what Melania says when Trump tries to touch her. So I'm just, we report,
wow.
you decide.
Now, is Trump going to be the MC of this thing?
Yes, he's going to be hosting the show.
Finally, that's the job he was born to do.
And he put out the signal that he's certainly up and open to an award. And again, it's the little things they do that are so offensive. So there's a company that has been making the medals, the physical medals, for the last 47 years. They canceled the contract and they're handing it over to Tiffany's. So just the little things. So this is an American business who's been supplying the actual Kennedy Center medals.
Is he going to get the Nobel Peace Prize at the awards?
Well, after things went so well and he straightened out that pesky Ukraine thing.
Sure.
But before we go to our next song, there's McSweeney's does some good stuff. You know that expression, the frog in the water, the boiling, the boiling frog. Yeah. Well, they had a thing on that. When we talked at the top of the show, there's just so much coming at you all the time. And now the thing is are we on the way to an authoritarian government? Are we in the middle of an authoritarian government? Are we the downward slope where they tried the authoritarian thing and it's failing because the polls are down and Governor Newsom has grown a pair? One wonders.
But so here's the scene. McSweeney's kind of gave a rundown of things, signs that a frog is boiled. And it goes in order. Eric, you want to start?
Yeah. A large pot sits in plain sight. There's a frog in it.
Right.
Every day, leader announces his plans to boil the frog. His campaign slogan was, "Boil that frog."
The frog is sweating. The frog is informed that this is due to a natural variation in temperature.
All books about frogs have vanished from the library.
A panel on TV debates the ethics of boiling the frog. The panel is composed of 12 herons and no frogs.
Leader tells other frogs not to worry. Healthy, hardworking frogs are fine. They can climb out of the pot whenever they want.
All frogs are encouraged to call their representatives every day to request not to be boiled. They're told their calls are very important.
The U.S. Secretary of Health says that boiling water is actually good for frogs. It keeps them from turning gay.
And finally, the frog receives a text message asking him for $3.
What to do? Well, what we can do is try to put some light into people's lives. In approximately 20 minutes, the great Maria Muldaur is going to be joining me live on The Grateful Dead Show.
Excuse me, yes. Maria Muldaur here, live?
Here, live at KSQD via the miracle of phones, if they happen to work. So I'm going to play a song from her new album here. It's a great album of body blues, and, this is one of those songs. But, this is a quick warm-up of what we're going to be up to in about 20 minutes. You're listening to KSQD, What a Week. I'm Erik Nelson.
And I'm Tony Russomanno.
And this is Maria Muldaur.
Now you're the only gal that I've met that's got something I just can't get. What make you act like that? What make you act like that? Ain't no way to treat me. What make you act like that?
Well, every time that I see you, you got something else to do that makes me act like that. That's why I act like that. Ain't no way to treat me. That's why I act like that.
Mama, you know just what I'm wild about. Mama, you got it, but you just ain't putting it out. What makes you act like that? What makes you act like that? Well, that ain't no way to treat me. What makes you act like that?
I want some of that That's why I act like that. That makes me act like that. Ain't no way to treat me. That's why I act like that.
Now, Mama, you don't make the others pay. But then you turn around and turn me down every day. What makes you act like that? What makes you act like that? Well, that ain't no way to treat me. What makes you act like that?
Why do you keep on hanging around when you know that I done turn you down? What makes you act like that? Why do you keep on acting like that, honey? Ain't no way to treat me. What makes you act like that?
You can't keep a good Taj Mahal down. Maria Muldaur from her brand new terrific album, 1 Hour Mama. And Maria's going to be joining me in a little over 15 minutes, but we're still in What a Week. And speaking about the battle of the sexes with Melania Trump, she may be doing an ill-advised move. She's going after Hunter Biden, who was on, who's basically claimed that she and Donald met cute on Epstein's jet. And what do you want to do when you have a rumor go away? Do you want to just stop talking about it, or do you want to do a loud and public lawsuit? What do you think, Tony?
Oh, big press conferences, yes. Get everybody all riled up, call attention to it, jump up and down, hire a blimp.
Yeah, and this lawsuit comes from Michael Wolff, who's written a series of pretty much totally accurate but very inflammatory and not as journalistically fact-checked books as a legitimate journalist. Let's be very clear about that.
But he's got it all on tape.
Yeah, but the key is that Michael Wolff has the tapes. He did a massive amount of interviews with Epstein. He has them on tape. And what's interesting about this lawsuit is they're not going after the guy who actually put this in print, who put it in a book, who Hunter Biden is referring to. They're going after Hunter Biden for saying the allegation. And there's an important difference here, folks. If you know that this didn't happen, you're going to shut down the guy at the source. You're going to chop Michael Wolff off at the knees. And the question is, why aren't they going after him? Why has he been left out of the legal blitz? And the theory is that he's a more intimidating target because they've never been able to, he's gotten it right in the past. And secondly, audio recordings.
He
folks.
got the tapes, that's right. So he's got the heavy guns. And what has Hunter Biden got? Doesn't even have a laptop anymore.
But on the Follies, though, in Washington, again, not that we expected this. Speaking of Washington, Jeannie Pirro, Judge Boxo Wine on Fox, is now, of course...
now Judge Jeannie Pirro.
Yeah, she's now the law in Washington, D.C., and she did a press conference. Well, you tell me if when I was first referred to as Judge Boxo Wine, this is her in front of the press last week as all the shenanigans in D.C. are going down.
I am, I'm not going to bore you with the facts. Don't quote me on that. That was off the record. I can only hire during certain periods once there's been an ad or some kind of posting, and then I can hire. Okay, I'm doing it. I'm doing the best I can. The president has given me the permission to hire.
Okay.
Hey, she sounds like fun. I'd have a drink with her.
Out of time? That means he's had enough. Goodbye. Thank you. I want you to report on it.
But you said it's guns.
Important.
You said it's guns on the street that's causing this problem. Are you concerned that the DOJ's funding cuts to gun violence prevention programs undermine the effort?
Stop it. We are putting all kinds of resources onto the street.
What about the gun aspect of the gun violence?
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Another vat of wine, Judge. So, yeah, this is
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Boy, how many times did you hear that this week?
Yeah, well, just had to play that. So, yeah, I mean, as we talked at the top of the show, how do you keep up with all this thing? And the thing that comes to mind is, where do we go from here? I mean, we obviously have how many 3.5 years of this maybe ahead of us. Every single week is this relentless war.
Well, it's the benefit of having What a Week. We're not repeating what you've heard. We're trying to make sense of what you've heard
and it's
put it
getting
into some
increasingly
context.
difficult to do it because, but what's happened, and we haven't gone too far off our mission statement. Right after the election, our point was they've declared war on reality. This isn't. There's no such thing as Democrats anymore.
Hey, really? We're the druggies here. We know about war on reality.
But no, the point is though that when you listen to what we've played, and you listen to Mark Wayne Mullen describing Trump as the greatest president of all time, you've listened to the fantasies of Trump thinking he's going to get a Nobel Prize, him changing his opinion on what he wants out of Putin on the flight home based on the flight over, and then denying that he did it. The entire idea about mail fraud. He can't let the 2020 election go. The guy can't even walk a straight line on a red carpet. This is delusional, and it's a complete, utter war on reality.
At least the purveyors of the big lie knew how to do it by repeating it over and over again. He just says it once and expects everybody to believe it.
And then the people who are executing this, Judge Box of Wine, Whiskey Pete, Keg Seth, the Botoxic Christy Nome, Stephen Vampire Bat Miller, and now Stephen's wife, who's now, this is what the world needs, a podcast catering to conservative women. She just launched a new podcast channel. So these aren't, let's just say, the best and the brightest here. And the question is, how do we cope with this relentless sludge? And I've noticed a lot of people, a lot of friends of mine are suffering, and this is their term, but I'm going to apply it here, Trump derangement syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they say we're suffering from.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're just deranged because of Donald Trump. You can't look at him clearly because it's Trump derangement syndrome. And the fact is they're probably right. There is a certain amount of Trump derangement syndrome where we are temporarily deranged, and it's making people act in strange ways.
Yeah, it is. It affects me. I don't know, Eric. I think that's the reason we're doing the show, to try to work out our own demons about how much junk there is in the zeitgeist these days.
It's therapy for us. It's therapy for you, and it's also important to try to get an attitude towards all of this and to sort of get your psychological mechanisms up. I mentioned Maria Muldaur is going to be joining in 10 minutes. Listen, keep listening, and then there'll be some Grateful Dead afterwards. Listen to the music on the radio station.
Healing music.
It's healing music. Go down and hug a redwood tomorrow. That certainly, 4 o'clock, the clock tower. Is that going to stop Workbench from taking down the heritage redwoods? Probably not. Maybe, definitely not. Is it worth showing up and meeting? Who's going to show up there to do that? Anyone who shows up there to support this and to embrace a heritage redwood are our kind of people. It's why people are rallying, why the signs and the million, the marches and the most creative cardboard signs on the planet that festooned Ocean Street are
Indivisible
important.
is still having weekly events, with people holding signs on freeway overpasses every Wednesday.
Well, I think the plan on their part is to wear us down, is to basically inflict Trump derangement syndrome upon us so we can't think straight and we actually give up. And the point is to remember, reality is on our side. There's a category just named, by the way, Tony, Hurricane Erin, rapid increase to Category 5.
And expected to double or triple in size over the next
and it's going to
days.
Miss, but it's certainly in the neighborhood of Mar-a-Lago. And there'll be another one, and there'll be another one. You can't fight reality. You can't fight, the utter rank incompetence, declaring war on the better half of the country with sub-educated ICE goons is not going to work.
By the way, they lowered the age for recruits now. ICE is now taking 18-year-olds.
Well, I'm proud on What a Week. I've always sort of been the canary in the coal mine here. Remember a few weeks ago when I took off at Dean Cain because he said something about, because he played Superman once, he felt qualified to talk about the new Superman film, which, by the way, kicked ass in the box office. And I pointed out that you'd brought up that, Eric, you worked with him. And I think I referred to him as an embittered and entitled prick.
Huh.
And because I'd worked with him. I directed the guy. And last week, guess who announces 59-year-old Dean Cain is joining ICE. He actually went that far. So this overweight slug of a human being is now the poster child for ICE recruitment. How's that going to work on you, Dean? Just want to point out, that bad pennies come around.
They're flooding the zone, as we said earlier in the show.
But all we can advise folks is maintain your mental health. Of course, listen to What a Week every week. That's a mandatory.
Except next week.
Except next week when Carolyn Fraser, the author of a book called Murderland, which shows a direct causal link between the serial killer epidemics of the 70s in the Pacific Northwest and toxic environmental.
I've seen large portions of that book. Boy, oh boy, I'm telling you.
A Pulitzer Prize winning writer joining me for a full hour to talk about her book, and some politics may come up too, but just stick around for that.
I'm not going to be here. I'm just going to keep the covers over my head.
Yeah, covers are red, but this is where you can go from this, that, or the other thing. Well, the great E.B. White, Charlotte's Web folks, wrote lots of great stuff for the New Yorker.
Strunk and White.
Wrote back, a friend of his who was in despair, was depressed, didn't know how to cope with whatever was bumming him out back in the 1950s. And he wrote his buddy E.B., help, I'm depressed, say something. So E.B. White wrote a letter back that I think is something that you can't get enough of, good and positivity. So this is what E.B. White wrote to a friend who, like us, was in the need for some reinforcement here.
Okay.
So, and this, I think, will wrap us up. We'll probably just go to some music after this. Stick around at the top of the hour. Maria Muldaur joining live.
Right.
I'm Erik Nelson.
And I'm Tony Russomanno.
This has been What a Week. And
there we go.
The two of us will be back in a couple of weeks. But E.B. White, this is a cheer up, folks.
As long as there is one upright man, as long as there is one compassionate woman, the contagion may spread, and the scene is not desolate. Hope is the thing that is left to us in a bad time. I shall get up Sunday morning and wind the clock as a contribution to order and steadfastness. Sailors have an expression about the weather. They say, the weather is a great bluffer. I guess the same is true of our human society. Things can look dark, then a break shows in the clouds, and all is changed, sometimes rather suddenly. It is quite obvious that the human race has made a queer mess of life on this planet. But as people, we probably harbor seeds of goodness that have lain for a long time, waiting to sprout when the conditions are right. Man's curiosity, his relentlessness, his inventiveness, his ingenuity have led him into deep trouble. We can only hope that these same traits will enable him to claw his way out. Hang on to your hat, hang on to your hope, and wind the clock, for tomorrow is another day.